Police are investigating a Florida shootout that started as a fight over pricey exotic dogs. You heard that right.
Man, wait till you see this video.
I swear, people will risk their lives over some of the dumbest and some of the most valuable things on earth. In this case, it's exotic dogs. And what starts as a business inquiry turns into a full-blown gunfight in a residential neighborhood with a woman fighting for her life and her girlfriend's life over micro bullies. Watch this.
This shootout was caught on camera.
It was like a scene out of a movie, a gun battle over pricey exotic dogs. This woman, in fear for her and her girlfriend's life, is forced to fire after a group of young men start shooting at her.
Like a scene out of a movie is cute. Until you realize this isn't CGI. This is a real gunfight, real bullets, real people almost dying in a place where her neighbors sleep 20 yards away. And when you watch this clip, you instantly see why civilian tactics matter. Not operator fantasies, not Call of Duty tactics, real tactics, the kind regular people need when evil shows up in the driveway at 7:30 p.m. Because look at what happens next.
A bullet narrowly misses her head, and she ducks behind her car for cover.
We got a knock on the door. I noticed one of the people's faces.
The three young men you can clearly see in this Ring video went to the woman's West Park home around 7:30 Monday night. She breeds exotic dogs, and she figured they were there to inquire about them. She noticed something seemed a bit off and asked,
"What the hell is going on right here?" As soon as I turn around, that's when he grabbed me, and then his boys got all frantic.
One of the men then grabbed the woman, holding her at gunpoint. There was a struggle.
So you're at home doing your thing, breeding your dogs. Three dudes show up, interested in your dogs. And within seconds, one of them has a gun to your head and is trying to drag you out of your own house. That's not robbery. That's really kidnapping waiting to happen. And here's the tactical reality. She did do some things right. She moved to cover. She put the engine block between her and the threat. She created distance. She actually fought back. But here's why that gunfight looks sloppy. She didn't have a stock on the AR pistol. Why? Because dumb gun laws make it expensive, bureaucratic, or outright illegal for a regular citizen to put the one piece of gear on a rifle that would have made her shots more stable, more accurate, and less likely to hit someone's house down the street. So instead of a stable shoulder-fired rifle, what does she have? An AR pistol she has to awkwardly scissor grip by the magazine while sticking it over a car hood and blind firing under stress. And that is why tactics matter. Not to look cool, not to cosplay military, but because when the day comes and you don't have the luxury of thinking things through, your instincts default to whatever you have trained or haven't trained. Now watch the moment everything flips.
And as soon as I turned around, he went and the other guy that was standing here went and put his arm around me, put the gun to my head. And then I started screaming, trying to wiggle myself out.
They were trying to drag her out. I don't know for what reason. They had her by her neck, trying to drag her out with the gun to her head.
The trio take off with two exotic micro bullies, similar to the dogs you see here. They are worth about $4,000 each. The robbers don't leave quietly either. They shoot at the woman, and that's when she goes into her home to grab her gun.
I would have done anything to protect my girlfriend in my home, and my biggest goal was to just make sure that she was okay and we lived to see tomorrow.
That last line says it all. I would have done anything to protect my girlfriend and live to see tomorrow. That is why people carry guns. That is why training matters. That is why understanding your environment, your angles, your cover, your laws, all of it matters. Because when evil decides today is your day, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. And this woman, she survived because she fought back, but she also came dangerously close to injuring someone she never intended to. That part right there is why tactics matter for civilians, not just cops or the military. Now, before we go deeper into that, let me say this. I want to talk to you about what this woman represents because it's the same mentality behind my FAFO line, or F around and find out. She wasn't out looking for trouble. She wasn't flexing with a rifle on the front lawn. She wasn't trying to be a hero. She was at home with someone she loves, doing what she does for a living. Trouble knocked on her door. Trouble put a gun to her head. Trouble tried to drag her and her girlfriend out. And when Trouble decided to push it too far, it found out. That's exactly what FAFO stands for. It's not about macho nonsense. It's not about trying to intimidate people. It's not about acting hard. It's about good people, people who want peace, who mind their business, who aren't trying to hurt anybody, being ready to defend themselves if evil ever forces them to. FAFO says if you decide to prey on people who just want to be left alone, you're going to find out the hard way that they are not prey. That's why I built the FAFO collection for the quiet ones, the people who don't start fights but refuse to be victims. We've got FAO hats, even though this is not an FAO hat. We got FAO shirts, of course, as you can see me here. We have hoodie, and we have awesome drinkware that makes a great stocking stuffer for Christmas, all with the same message baked into them. So if that resonates with you, if you're the type of person who doesn't want problems but refuses to fold when they show up, check out the FAFO line at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. I'm gonna put a link in the description section where you can check that out. And also, don't forget, my favorite wireless Bluetooth in-ear hearing protection, the AKT1 Blackouts. These are basically like AirPods for shooters. You can do pretty much everything AirPods do, but then they actually protect your hearing. They enhance your hearing 6 times so you can hear what's going on around you. All that great jazz. So check that out at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. All right, now let's talk about tactics and why this video is both a win and a warning. So this story happened a few years ago, but I wanted to bring it back because it's a perfect example of why civilian tactics matter just as much as the Second Amendment. When we hear tactics, people immediately think military, SWAT, high-speed operators, war zones. But tactics is just this. In this environment, under these rules, how do I put myself in the best position to win a fight? And the tactics for someone in the military is going to be slightly different for someone who is a cop. It's going to be slightly different for someone who is a security guard. And it's going to be slightly different for somebody who is a civilian. What are the things a civilian needs to comprehend or think about from a tactic standpoint and rules of engagement standpoint when you're defending yourself with a gun? Because make no mistake, this story about this woman and these dogs and the shooting, that was a gunfight. Call it whatever you want, a shootout, exchange, confrontation. If someone is shooting at you while you're shooting at them, it's a gunfight. And another reason I wanted to bring this up is because these laws create liabilities nobody thinks about. In this particular story, she did good. She got behind the car, she put the engine block between her and the threat. But the problem is she's firing over the car without even looking. She's just firing in a general direction she remembers the threat being. The threat may not even be there anymore. I get it. In the heat of the moment when bullets are flying at you, your only goal is to not get shot and to make them stop shooting at you. But as a civilian, if you are going to engage, there are rules of engagement for us, spoken and unspoken. One spoken rule, the law. One unspoken rule, your bullets don't have names on them. They can go anywhere, into anyone's house, into anyone's loved one, especially when you're firing from an unstable position over the hood of a car while holding a gun by the magazine and letting it rock from recoil. A tiny change in angle, just a few degrees, changes where the bullet lands by a feet at distance. Try that at range one time. Put a target at 10 yards, raise your muzzle slightly, and see how far that round jumps. Now imagine 40 yards. Now imagine neighbors' houses. Now imagine skipping rounds under cars because you crowded your cover. And here's the thing. Some of this isn't her fault because she's shooting an AR pistol, a pistol with no stock. Why? Because SBR laws and brace rules make it a hassle or a fee or a felony to put a simple stock on a short rifle. What does a stock do? It stabilizes the gun. It makes it safer to shoot. It makes it more accurate. It makes it less likely you'll send rounds into someone else's house. But because of dumb laws, she's forced into a compromised position with a compromised platform. If she had a stock, instinct would have kicked in and she would have instinctively shouldered the gun, lean out from behind cover, get a sight picture, and place rounds on targets. Instead, she's blind firing. This is why training classes matter. Not because you're trying to be military, but because the physics of gunfights don't change just because the zip code does. What's the difference between gunfighting in Fallujah and gunfighting in a Florida driveway? Well, houses, cars, angles, cover, concealment, bullet skipping on pavement. Technically, it's the same environment with different stakes and a little bit prettier. If she had taken one tactics class, she would have learned a lot of this. The difference between cover and concealment. Why you don't crowd your cover, how to pie the corner of a vehicle, how to shoot from behind a car without blind firing, how to use angles so you can see them, but they can't see you, how to fire accurately under stress, and how to avoid sending rounds into your neighbor's home. Civilians need tactics, not for fantasy, but for real life, because criminals don't train. They don't study angles, they don't understand cover, they don't expect you to know what you're doing. Training gives you an advantage, and it brings me to the last point. This video is the exact reason why I talk about USC Say so much in my videos. Everybody thinks USCCA is just lawyers if you shoot someone, a card in your wallet, insurance if things go bad. But it's way more than that. They're one of the only organizations that actually focus on civilian defense from every angle: legal, financial, tactical, mental. I've done scenario-based training with them. We shot a whole video series in a coffee shop where I had to make split-second decisions in a simulated gunfight. You know what I learned? I thought I fired way fewer rounds than I actually did. My perception under stress was completely off. That's critical information, because once you know your tendencies under stress, you can train to correct it. You can build better habits. You can manage risk more intelligently. USCCA gives people access to scenario-based training, self-defense law education, what to say, what not to say after a shooting, in-depth breakdowns of real incidents, and yes, legal and financial protection if you ever find yourself in a situation like this woman, defending your life and your loved ones in a real gunfight. They look at it the way I do. A gun is just a tool. The real weapon is the person using it. And the more informed, trained, and legally prepared that person is, the better the outcome for everyone. That's why USCCA sponsors this channel, because they're not just handing you a brochure and a hotline. They're giving you the framework to survive the fight, the aftermath, the courtroom, and the mental toll. So if you're serious about carrying a gun or even just having one at home for self-defense, you owe it to yourself to look into a USCCA membership. I'll drop a link in the description section along with the link to the shop.mrcolion Noir site so you can check it all out, read what they have to offer, and decide for yourself if you want the level of backup for the worst day of your life. Because as this video shows, when evil shows up, you won't have time to get ready. You only have time to be ready. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you, and we're all fighting this culture war together. Now, you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together, we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.